When you think of a courtroom, what comes to mind? Probably stacks of dusty law books, right? Maybe a judge with a gavel, a world steeped in tradition. Well, a totally new force is starting to shake things up in a big way: artificial intelligence. In this explainer, we're going to dig into how AI is beginning to completely remake the scales of justice.
So why is this such a huge deal? Well, to really get it, you have to understand the core problem. For as long as anyone can remember, the legal world has been absolutely buried in paperwork. I mean, we're talking about literal mountains of documents, case files, legal precedents, you name it. And all of it has to be reviewed by hand, which takes forever. It's a system built on paper, and honestly, it's just not very efficient.
And that leads us right to the big question, doesn't it? Can AI actually be the thing that digs the legal system out from under this avalanche of paper? Could it make justice faster, smarter, and maybe, just maybe, more accessible for all of us? Let's dive in and see.
All right, first up, let's look at how AI is basically giving superpowers to the people already in the system. You know, the lawyers and judges on the front lines every single day.
Okay, so one of the first places you see AI making a huge difference is in legal research. I mean, look at the difference. The traditional way, hours and hours of a lawyer digging through books, always with that nagging fear they might miss one crucial case. But now, AI platforms like Lexus Plus AI or CoCounsel can sift through enormous amounts of data in seconds, and they come back with everything that's relevant. So it's not just about being faster, it's about doing better, more complete work.
And hey, this isn't just a tool for lawyers. AI is also making its way into the judges' chambers. Now, let's be clear, it's not replacing the judge, not at all. Think of it more like a super-powered legal assistant. It can take a 1,000-page brief and give you the highlights, find all the relevant past cases, and even point out when an argument doesn't quite add up. This lets judges slice through all the clutter and really focus their brainpower on the tricky, human parts of a case.
Want a real-world example? Let's take a look at Estonia. They've been testing out what some people have nicknamed a robot judge for small claims cases. Here's the process. For a pretty straightforward dispute, the AI looks at all the facts, considers the law, and then it proposes a ruling. And that's the key word right there. It's a proposal. A human judge always reviews what the AI came up with and makes the final decision. The human is still in charge. The AI is just helping out.
So this boost in efficiency isn't just about research and decisions. Nope, it's also changing the game when it comes to creating and reviewing legal documents, which is, let's face it, the bread and butter of what most lawyers do.
Yeah, legal paperwork can be a real grind. It's super labor-intensive. But this is where tools like Harvey AI are becoming total game changers. They can whip up a first draft of a contract, scan documents for mistakes, or plow through thousands of pages when two companies are merging. And by taking over all that repetitive stuff, it lets lawyers do what they do best: think about strategy, negotiate, and advise their clients. That's a way better use of their time and talent, right?
Okay, so we've seen how AI is a huge help for legal pros. But what about everyone else? What about you and me? Well, that brings us to the second massive change: using AI to open up the courthouse doors for everybody.
And this really gets to the heart of a massive problem in our society. The simple fact is, for a lot of people, justice is just too expensive. Think about it. If you're facing an eviction or you have a problem at work, hiring a lawyer can feel completely impossible. And this is where AI could be an absolute game changer. And you know what? It's not some far-off future thing. It's happening right now. We have AI-powered tools that are like a first stop for legal help. Take Upsolve. It helps people figure out the super complicated bankruptcy process by themselves. Or DoNotPay, which got famous for being the world's first robot lawyer. It helps with everyday annoyances like parking tickets and canceling subscriptions you can't get out of. Now, are these tools a full replacement for a lawyer? No. But they're an incredibly important first step for people who otherwise would have absolutely no help at all.
This idea of access to justice applies to the criminal system too. You know, public defenders are almost always completely overwhelmed with huge caseloads. And this chart shows exactly how AI can help. By cutting down on all the admin time, the research, the paperwork, it frees them up to spend more time on what actually matters: talking to their clients, building a strong defense, and planning their strategy. And that, right there, could make the whole system a lot more fair.
And when you zoom out, all these little efficiencies really start to add up. AI is helping with things like scheduling and predicting how long a case might take. And that's starting to chip away at the huge backlogs that clog up so many courts. You know, when people can get their issues resolved faster, it just helps build more trust in the entire system.
Okay, but hold on.
With all this amazing potential, there's also a big but. We can't talk about putting AI in the courtroom without getting serious about the ethical side of things and the absolute need for some major guardrails.
So here's probably the single biggest challenge, something called algorithmic bias. What does that mean? Well, an AI is only as smart as the data you feed it. And if the historical data from our legal system, which, let's be honest, has its own history of biases, is used to train the AI, well, the AI could end up learning and even making those same biases worse. That's a massive risk, and we have to face it head on.
So what's the solution? How do we stop that from happening? It really boils down to one fundamental principle. We have to think of AI as a tool, a really powerful tool, for sure, that gives us recommendations and insights based on data. It can analyze things, it can summarize, it can suggest a path forward. But, and this is the important part, the final decision has to be made by a human. Period. A judge, a lawyer, someone has to have the final say. Having a human in the loop, someone who can question the AI or just flat out ignore its recommendation, is absolutely non-negotiable. Technology can be a guide, but it can never, ever be the final judge.
So, when you put it all together, the key takeaway is this. The future isn't about robot judges taking over the courtroom. Not at all. The future of law is going to be AI augmented. It's about giving our human experts tools that help them be faster, more accurate, and ultimately better at their jobs.
And that brings us to the final and most important question. If we do this right, if we make sure these systems are fair, transparent, and always have a human in charge, can this technology actually help us build a legal system that works for everyone? The potential is absolutely there, but whether we get there, well, that's up to us.